Words about books, Ben.
It's words about books, Nate.
We're here to talk more about Man in the High Castle, which we talked about last week, and we got universal praise from everybody.
Eventually.
I did fail to really hammer home the whole point of that Civil War fake manufacturing scheme. It's about historicity, Ben. I brought it up right towards the end, but you were asleep, so I understand if you don't remember.
No, I remember it.
What's the difference between this Civil War pistol that was made in the 1860s and the one that I just made here in the 1960s? It's all just what we attribute to it, Ben. Reality is a construct, and
yeah, I mean, I think I'm aware of Man in the High Castle. I have become more aware of it. I did research for this. You got me on a bad day.
You did research.
You got me on a bad day, so I didn't apply most of it.
I got you on the perfect day. The perfect fucking day for our discussion, man.
It's been a much easier week. So just to give you guys some context, like last week, it just didn't stop. I got called into work twice. It was just every day was something that whole week. And you got me on a bad day. But I did do research. And so I think, there's what is it, like the grasshopper hops twice or something? What's the book in the universe?
Grasshopper lays heavy.
Okay.
I think.
The grasshopper
hops twice.
The grasshopper always hops twice. That should have been a Hitchcock movie. It sounds like a Roger Corman movie. But no, the in-universe book, the through line of the fake antiques, it's the I Ching. Even I do think Philip K. Dick's method of using the I Ching to write the book is a sort of what we would call on this podcast douche philosophical exercise, in that I don't think Philip K. Dick necessarily believes that there is any magic to the I Ching. I don't think he believes it taps into any like universal truths or Tao or anything like that. But I do think his point was, if you believe in it, then it becomes real. Like if you believe in tarot card readings and you do tarot card readings to guide your choices, then it becomes kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. And I think he was approaching that from a let's see if this works angle. And I don't really think it is a good idea to let the I Ching write your book. I don't think it makes a great book. But
that's what we have AI for.
Oh god, that's a whole other
I
thing.
just punch it in. Hey, AI, what would happen if the Nazis won? Also, how could they have won?
Well, that's a whole other thing. But I don't think he was super interested in how the Nazis won. Now, the one thing I will say,
he wasn't,
that I was interested to learn, and we have learned from at least a couple of people have commented on this now, is that Philip K.
My recap was amazing.
Not where I was going with this. I was surprised to learn, and I think I was a little hard on Philip K. Dick.
I was.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
Most of what we know about like Operation Paperclip and all that stuff, that all came out. I was
going to bring that up
long after Philip K. Dick wrote this book. So what seems funny to us, like,
so we need a volume 2.
Yeah, what seems funny to us is like, well, if the German rockets were that great, then the American rockets would be that great because they're the same rockets. Because we scooped up all those dudes and relocated them to Florida, and they're still there to this day.
Or dead.
Well,
they could be dead now.
I think their beliefs have really infiltrated the Florida government. And
you mean their belief in freedom and in not giving water to workers?
Well, sure as shit wasn't their belief in rocket science, was it? But yeah, so that was one thing I think is legit criticism. We're a little too hard on Philip K. Dick because we are coming at this with knowledge he couldn't possibly have had. But yeah,
On the other hand,
I did. Yeah, to just hammer it home, the whole point of the book is belief, consciousness manufactures its own reality. It is a artifact because you believe it is an artifact, and you may think you have good reason to believe that, but he's trying to point out, without just coming out and saying it, that all your beliefs are arbitrary, all your evidence is arbitrary.
yeah.
It's something
Yeah,
you chose based
he
on.
basically both his stand-in and Juliana, I think was her name. I don't have my notes up. I don't give a shit. Judo girl was like, I think I understand this book more than anyone. It's not about the alternate history. It's about something else. And then, what does it mean that the Allies actually won World War II? I don't know. What do you mean they actually did? Did we just? I don't know.
That's what I mean.
I don't know.
I think that's the part that confuses me the most, is like when he says what really happened, but like the point of the book is everything kind of happens all at once and your perception just kind of grounds you in whatever reality you perceive yourself to be in. Like, for example,
I'm perceiving myself to be in a really shit
for
reality.
example,
I don't know what my problem
for
is.
your history teacher, the Battle of the Bulge was the turning point of the war.
Yeah.
But that's true. Like, there are many people who live in a reality where America swooped in and saved the whole world.
The turning point on the West Front, Ben.
I understand.
D-Day was a much better turning point.
So you asked me before we recorded which thing we were going to record today, Tolkien or this, and I said it didn't matter because I'd done the reading, and you said you wanted to record this because you were going to talk about World War II and your daughter wasn't home tonight and you might get loud.
Yeah.
Which is the nerdiest thing I've ever heard anyone say.
Yeah, that's right.
Might get loud talking about World War II facts.
Yeah. Ben.
So you think you live in an objective historical reality. You think you've got the real World War II with you today.
Yeah, no. He also takes what I'm about to say and puts it in a character's mouth and just kind of like, fuck you, Philip. Don't be an asshole.
Don't anticipate me.
Because one of the characters, the antique dealer, Childen, he reads the book and he's like, this is hilarious. No, the Japanese were always going to win World War II. So I know it's going to sound ridiculous
the whole
when
thing?
I say the whole thing, Ben.
Okay.
I recognize this is going to sound fucking very similar when I say there was never any chance that the Japanese were going to win World War II, and an incredibly slim chance that the Germans were going to win. And by win, I mean maybe get some land from Russia and
keep France.
And keep some territory in Europe and not get bombed out of existence by the Allies. Slim chance, and I'm talking like everything had to line up, like acts of God. Like the weather had to be super pleasant that year, because German planning fucking sucks, Ben.
Do you think there's anything to the notion, though, that the United States maybe hypes up how threatening
100%.
the Nazi, like?
Oh, no. Well, there's also, because you know where we get a lot of our historical quote-unquote facts or perceptions on World War II? By still living German generals who are like, man, we would have won if we would have just gone on Moscow, but big old dumb Hitler wouldn't let us do it. We would have won the whole war, we would have taken everything, but he wouldn't let us.
Shouldn't you be?
And that's why we lost.
Shouldn't you be in?
And also, we have like 1 million motorized divisions. What's that?
Why give an interview? Shouldn't they be in an Israeli prison somewhere?
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
But we need to set up like historical museums and yada 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 yada. We need to get all that information down on the record. And some of them also wrote books because they managed to not get, sentenced to death.
And I don't want to downplay, though. Like, I don't want to downplay the threat. like the very real like.
Oh, I'm sure there's definitely a perception of like, oh my god, they beat France in like 5 weeks. Oh shit. Oh
I
god.
think
It took them 4 years last time to fight to a stalemate.
I think Germany and Japan both exceeded expectations for sure. And
Yeah.
then as things drug on, way
Yeah,
way
a lot of
overplayed
their
it.
successes were a combination of surprise and speed. And then when they got bogged down somewhere, boy did it stop going their way.
Same is true of America today.
Hey, that's not true. We built two stable, freedom-loving democracies in the Middle East, Ben.
Kind of like 0.5.
I haven't checked in with them in a long time, but I can only imagine. Last time I checked in with them, it was 2010. I'm pretty sure they're still there though. So like
the summary of the war on terror for me is always going to be the image of the Taliban taking over a military base and using the gym equipment incorrectly. That's I was like I was looking at that image
was
and I was
the mission
like,
accomplished on the carrier.
yeah. Oh yeah, that's
but,
when you stop paying attention. It's just been smooth sailing since.
We won. We won in 2003 and we never looked back.
I don't even know why people are still talking about it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we left Iraq and Afghanistan like decades ago.
One of them.
With an agreement. Yeah, one of them. Obama got us out. That's right. That was one of his campaign promises. Right after he closed down Gitmo, he got us out.
I don't know what you do with that one. Because when we got out, it wasn't like great. I think we might have gotten in over our heads.
What do you mean it wasn't great? We just kept dumping money into it. How did it not fix itself?
I think maybe we didn't know what the fuck we were doing.
But we built a democracy in Japan after this war, Ben. Single-handedly, all by ourselves.
Kinda.
They didn't want to have a military, and that was kind of like we wanted to rearm
If we had done with Afghanistan what we had done with Japan, then the Taliban would have been prime minister.
Yeah, we would have been like, hey, Osama, you want to run this nation that we're building for you?
Like, there's a reason. I don't know. I guess you could argue. No, they had the benefit of no one. I have argued this. I think they got away with like basically just quietly reinstalling most of the Japanese high command into positions of power because Americans don't remember Japanese names.
I don't know about how.
No, they probably said they were doing it, but I don't think Americans really paid attention because they don't. Like, they're all names they're not familiar with and stuff. Like, it's just
we should have started giving them
a totally
English names so we could pin them.
A totally like, foreign
that
culture.
One over there, that's Adolf Hitler Japanese edition. That's Gerber, the baby product. That guy.
Yeah, no, I have a theory that they got that it worked. They did that in Japan because it was a totally foreign culture, and then you had like, Operation Paperclip and all these like super duper secret things to bring in all the Nazis because it had to be super duper secret because people recognized those guys. But other than like Tojo himself, I don't think the average American could have named a single Japanese.
Yamamoto. Hey, it's Ed or Nate. You're going to be hearing from me a few times throughout this episode. And I wanted to say that I did look it back up, and I'm about to attribute the sleeping giant quote to Yamamoto. It looks like that might not be true. It looks like that was misattributed to him, or we don't think he actually said the "I fear we've awoken a sleeping giant" quote. Now, he did think that in order to beat America, he would have to send Japanese troops to Washington, D.C. to dictate terms of peace, and this was later misconstrued by both the Japanese and the Americans for propaganda purposes. to the Japanese, it was like, oh yeah, Yamamoto thinks we're gonna kick America's ass. We're not just gonna hold a defensive perimeter in the Pacific. We're gonna kick America's ass and dictate peace terms. Whereas the Americans were like, can you fucking believe this guy? So, anyway, I'm about to talk about Operation Vengeance. And he was in a plane that was shot down, and the American who shot him down radioed against orders. He was supposed to maintain radio silence, but he radioed, that son of a bitch will not be dictating peace terms to the White House. So, that's fun. Also, apparently, when Roosevelt heard that Yamamoto died, his response was, gosh. Okay. I think someone radioed when they blew up his... I think it was a ship or a plane. I can't remember which, but they got him. And they were supposed to have strict radio silence, but I think someone made a remark. I don't remember what it was. Something like, God, was he the guy who said that I fear we've awoken up a sleeping giant or something?
I don't remember.
I don't know. I can't remember either.
I know
but
the quote,
I remember.
but I don't remember.
I remember being like, "Oh fuck
I'm
yeah,
proving
we
my
got
own
him!"
theory right now.
I remember the quote. I don't know who the fuck it was. I mean, there's a lot of those guys. I don't know.
Yeah.
Can we get a Heinz Guderian or something? That's just European enough for me to recognize.
Like Goebbels, that's a good Pennsylvania Dutch name.
Yeah, and they make baby food.
You're really trying to... We're not going to get that Gerber sponsorship.
Yeah, well, don't give us a sponsorship. Just give us the win for my daughter and the $25,000 that comes with it. Put in a college fund.
So I gotta point out, it's been 15 minutes. I don't know what we're doing here.
Yeah, let's talk about World War II, Ben.
Okay, is that what we're doing here?
Yeah, why not? I did a bunch of research because I thought... I started doing it before I even read the book itself. I was like, all right, what stupid fucking thing is he going to do to justify the Allies losing? Not realizing...
It was the I Ching.
He did not care one bit.
You kind of...
But now you have to listen.
You didn't research on the I Ching, and that's your fault.
Yeah. So I guess I should preface by saying that I'm not a historian. I never went pro. I was a 2-time All-American historian in Carthaginian history, 146 to 50 BCE, and the written history of Bronze Age Britain, but I never went pro, and I was never that great with World War II stuff. It's just an interest I have, Ben.
Okay.
I will throw all of my definitely secondary sources because, I have a bunch of shit that I need to do. So researching a bunch of primary sources for this podcast wasn't going to happen, Ben.
That's... this isn't unsighted. We don't need to pretend to be scholars.
I mean, I do, and I will, but...
I've been sitting here writing a free book report every week for 5 years, and these kids are still using ChatGPT, and it pisses me off.
Yeah, you should subscribe and like, and then download our episode a bunch of times, and then go find something that wherever we sell ads and just start engaging with that.
If you use Words About Books as your book report, as long as you give me $5, I don't care.
There you go.
That was my rule when I was in high school, and that's my rule now. I'll write your report for you for $5. I charged a little more when I was in high school.
So all right, let's get into a bunch of German myths, Ben.
German myths.
That it was like this gigantic mechanized army, the most mechanized army on the entire planet.
The Wehrmacht.
Yeah, no, they used a whole lot of horsepower, like literal horses and carts, because they had a problem, Ben. You can only mechanize to the point where you have fuel to run the machines. Germany's big problem throughout the entire war was that they don't have a big booming oil economy.
I seem to remember there was a similar problem for Japan.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a similar problem to Japan. You know who had most of the oil, right? Don't say the Middle East because their oil infrastructure wasn't really set up
It
yet.
was the United
And
States, I know.
also, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was the United States. And also, you know who was second place on that list? Soviet Union.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So Germany's two primary enemies, and also, Hi Britain. I guess you're over there. You got your coal power. I mean, that's cute, I guess. So Germany is Adolf Hitler is ideologically opposed to the USSR and the United States. He rants about it in his first book about how communism is like a Jewish conspiracy and we got to get him. And then he has a second book that he never published where he plans on taking over the United States, but it's real vague on how he's going to do that because it's a stupid fucking idea and it would never
Well,
work.
why didn't he like us? We're capitalist as hell.
All right, it's Editor Nate again, and yeah, I'll just add a few points here. It wasn't just Jewish people, it was black people, and really just any people, right? He had a rigid hierarchy and structure of like, these are the best races, and he viewed America as being, the great melting pot. I think he called us a mongrel nation. Jackass. And he also really didn't like democracy, and that's not a joke where I say that our enemies are freedom hating, democracy hating bastards. No, he legitimately despised democracy. And also looking around, it looks like he just doesn't actually understand or even knew American culture at all, and just had a fundamental, like, wrong outlook on what America was all about because he's an idiot. He's an angry little toothbrush, mustache having dumb shit. And I'm glad he's dead. Anyway, next part. Yeah, but I don't know exactly. I'm sure it was probably some Jew related thing. Like, look at Wall Street over there and the world bankers, as you say, when you don't want to say Jewish to come off as a racist.
I think you say elites.
Elites.
Yeah.
There you go.
Global
But that
elites.
doesn't. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, the decadent West, Ben. Unlike the hardworking German man.
Yeah. I don't know. I should be careful what I say, I guess.
I think I mentioned before Ribbentrop was over there trying to measure Joseph Stalin's earlobes or some shit to see if he was really Jewish or not, because if he was, Germany would have to get
I
him.
guess I got to ask you this because I've been thinking about this. Um, have you started on the Hound of the Baskervilles yet?
I have.
Okay. Do you have a favorite character?
I'm a little concerned now.
Because there's a man
I haven't
in.
gotten.
How far have you gotten in the Hound of the Baskervilles?
Not very.
Okay. One of the guys in the Hound of the Baskervilles is a man who is obsessed with phrenology, and they
Oh,
often like
God.
he's so annoying about it that like Watson's trying to distract him at one point, and he's like, "I was afraid he was getting too close to understanding the point of my questions, so I asked him about the size of his skull or something," and it just went off for like an hour and forgot what we were talking about.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
He talks about
All right, well, I have that to look
the
forward
Celtic
to.
skull of the man who uh, is taking over. I guess that's a good thing in this case.
So I've seen a bunch of different reports on whether or not Stalin and Hitler could coexist, or if they were just one of them was going to backstab the other eventually.
I mean,
And I guess the takeaway there is, if I don't know, even 90 years later, looking at all these various sources, I'm pretty sure they didn't know in the moment. But Hitler needed him some oil, and And also I should be clear, his generals were all aboard this plan until, it went south, and then it was just dumb old Hitler doing dumb old Hitler things. And it's like, nah, you guys were there all along, being just as stupid and pointlessly cruel as Hitler. You're kind of culpable. I'm just wondering why you also didn't end up like him, but okay. So he was like, we can beat the Soviet Union. Did you see how they performed in Finland? They're a fucking joke. I think the quote is, you just have to kick the door in and the whole rotten structure will fall down, and everyone claps and applauses.
The only problem is the door's kind of far away.
Well, we've got to take him out, Ben, and we've got. I'm not joking. We have Operation Barbarossa. 6 weeks to defeat the USSR. We're going to have to do it in 6, or we're going to have a major fuel shortage. Hey, it's Ed or Nate, and when I was recording this part, and I will later figure it out while recording, I had my notes open, but they're on another screen. I don't have a good setup right now, so I was not looking at them. It was actually 10 weeks to defeat the Soviet army in the West, and then 17 weeks to win the whole war. That's still kind of stupid. That's ludicrous to think that they're going to be as far as the Ural Mountains in 17 weeks, and they're going to beat the Red Army from Poland and the Ukraine all the way back there. But that was their plan. That was their thought process. So I will say a few more times that it was 6 weeks. I think sometimes I even say 5 weeks. Recorder Nate and Editor Nate are very different people. That's canon now. But yeah, whenever I say 6 weeks, remember I'm saying 10 weeks to beat the army, 17 weeks to win the entire war. It's a little less ridiculous, but it's still not great planning.
Well, what? Why do you? Oh, I see. So like they're saying once they start, they've got 6 weeks before they.
Yep.
They've got 6 weeks of oil stockpiled.
We've got 6 weeks before we're gonna have a major shortage.
What if you just?
I mean, they still.
What if you just wait until you stockpiled more?
Well, here's the problem. You know where they're getting a lot of their oil from right now? It's not Romania, although they are producing oil. It's from the guys they're about to invade, Ben.
But why couldn't they just delay the invasion?
Because we're not getting enough oil, and we're still embroiled in this war with Britain. Like they didn't surrender, kind of like we thought they were. You know, like we took France, and then we thought Britain would sue for peace, but there's this thing between us and Britain called the ocean, and it turns out Britain has like a really, really good navy.
Yeah.
And also our navies also need a lot of oil, which we don't have a lot of.
What if we used horses to pull the boats?
I like your thinking. I'm going to promote you to head of the Kriegsmarine.
What if we could lasso like a dozen dolphins?
No, I have a better idea. Let's use Italy, right? Let's partner ourselves with Italy. I'm sure that'll work out well.
Yeah, I mean they've been a country for a few minutes now.
Yeah, they managed to, they managed to beat up some African nations, and that's it. That's actually all they've managed to do. But you know what? They're going to be the masters of the Mediterranean again.
After we drain it.
There you go. So
then the horses can pull the boats across.
So I did see a video actually released this week by History Matters. We used to be a patron.
I know people comment to this day asking if we're from History Matters.
It was about why didn't France advance any further, because when Germany invaded Poland, France sent like 50,000 men across the eastern border into Germany, and then they just kind of left. And that's because of a number of things. You should go check out his video. I'll be sure to try and link everything that I watched. But they were convinced that this is going to be a static war. So we just need to man our defenses. We'll beat Germany like last time in like 4 years. And then
what does a static war mean?
It's going to be about trenches and defenses. We're going to run into each other, and then we're going to stay there fighting for an extended period of time, war of attrition style, baby.
Okay.
They also, and this is one of the reasons that France fell so quickly. They were a political shit show for like 20 years after the war, just replacing prime ministers nonstop. So they didn't think they could sell the populace on a war with Germany to defend Poland.
Yeah,
so better to let Germany invade France so that we can unite against them.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
And then France, they also had just the crappiest military doctrine ever, where they didn't, like, there was one guy who was like, maybe we need to form all of our tanks into a group, like, you know, like the Germans did. That way it can move like really fast and be very mobile.
Not through the trenches.
And they're like, shut up. We're going to pair them with infantry. And then the French were also really dubious on radios. They thought that could be intercepted. So the Germans were over there radioing command and getting updates pretty quickly, and the French were using couriers. And so when the breakthrough happened, they were calculating speeds on which a person can move, not a tank could move. So they're like, okay, we're going to hold a defensive line here. So first it takes a courier to run that all the way back to HQ. HQ has to get the information, go, all right, here's where we're going to set up a new defensive line. And then send another courier all the way back to the front line. And by that time, the German tanks were already well past that. The French military and the French political system was a total shit show. Which is probably why they got defeated in a scary, quick fashion.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess I would have, like, if I were in the meeting, I'd have a question about radio being intercepted. Can they not also intercept a dude running across a field?
No, not at all.
Okay.
You'd have to intercept. He could destroy the information by the time they capture and then beat his ass.
But, like, historically, lots of people have intercepted lots of messengers.
Yeah, but, like, better than radio waves I can't even see, man.
Is it? You can't see the guy running.
It is either. If you're the French military.
Or, like, once he gets so far away, you can't see him either.
It's better if you're the French military. It's okay.
I just feel like the courier has all of the same disadvantages of radio. I guess you're broadcasting the radio everywhere, so like it's easier to intercept a radio message than it is to find like one guy in the wilderness.
Yeah, but the disadvantage being I can communicate with you on the radio pretty quickly.
So one thing I don't know, like I'm aware of the Enigma machine, obviously.
Yeah.
Did they have that from the get-go, or?
I don't know. I know it gets broken pretty early on.
Yeah, but like I was just wondering, like, they didn't attempt like a cryptography, or?
I mean, it's possible that it's probable that those messages from the French were coded, but you know, you still have to have a dude run it back to HQ, get orders, and then run it back out to the front line.
They didn't give him a car?
I'm sure they gave him a car.
Okay.
It's not. It's funnier to imagine he just sprinted nonstop, like 50 miles or whatever.
Well, I was gonna say, because in fairness, a car moves faster than a tank.
I mean, these were 1940s cars, so
even if it's like a 1940s motorcycle, it's still doing pretty good.
I suppose, Ben.
No, you
But
know what?
yeah,
I'm sold. It's a solid plan. Let's do it.
yeah, we got this. It's gonna work. It's gonna work just fine. But going back to Russia, Ben, and why Germany was never winning that fight without
Hey, wait,
like
why didn't they intercept
supreme
the
acts
Germans'
of
radio
God.
messages then?
Good question. Pass.
Okay.
I guess it would. I guess it wouldn't have mattered at that point, right? Like, says here the Germans are advancing on Paris. Oh, oh, that's bad. We've got like nothing between us and oh, 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 oh boy. So German operational planning did not really have any like margin for error. It was, we have this timetable. You've got to take all of Russia, 6 weeks. Well, not all of it. Just like
Just
you
the
gotta
oil
get
fields.
Moscow, Moscow, Stalingrad, Leningrad, and then we're gonna form a massive defensive line across all of that.
Okay.
And then we're gonna get those
I'm
oil
I'm a little
fields.
rusty on my Russian geography. Are those things close together?
That is basically the entire height of
Yeah,
Russia.
that's what I was thinking.
We're gonna get so the plan is all right. We push forward on 3 different fronts. Army Group North goes towards Leningrad, with the idea being we get Leningrad and then we like ship in troops. Now, how are they going to ship in troops when and supplies when like the Royal Navy? I don't know. Maybe it's something Norway. Maybe. Hey, it's Editor Nate, and I do not think that I remember learning about the invasion of Norway as part of World War II. It starts with the Germans invade Poland, and then the Germans invade France, but there's like an entire half a year between those two events. So
Well, did Norway have oil at this point?
they had iron ore. That was the big reason they were
Because their
invading.
oil fields are mostly in the ocean, right?
I don't think they were a big producer of oil at this
No, I
time.
was thinking like the technology might have had to evolve a little bit.
Yeah, the big two are the U.S. and the USSR, and whoopsie, we just invaded one of them, and the other one is helping our enemies. So, you know, oops.
They should have gotten Elon in there. He would have built an electric tank.
Yeah, but Hitler's not going to offer tax credits for it. Sorry.
No, he wouldn't offer a tax credit.
So, yeah, we're take Stalingrad. Then Army Group Center is just going to go all the way, all the way to Moscow. No big deal. That's only like, let me see here. Is it 300 miles? How hard could that be? Right? How difficult? Or is it 400 miles? It's just keep adding a few 100 miles here, 100 miles there. Um
Russia would
Also
later
there's
adopt
this,
this strategy in Ukraine.
I was going to say there is the Pripyat Marshes, which is a 150 by 300 mile marshy shithole. Um right in front of Minsk and Kiev. So, yeah. But we've got to do this in 6 weeks. Army Group South is going to go hit up the Ukraine and then going to go down towards the Caucasus and get that sweet oil. 6 weeks.
Okay, how close did they get?
And initially, yeah, they made some pretty good progress, Ben. Let's see. You're saying 6 weeks. I think I meant 6 months, Ben.
That's a little
It's
bit
a little
more
different.
realistic.
A little bit different. But no, here this one says 10 weeks. So 10 weeks to win in the West and destroy the Soviet army. Then go 17 weeks for the entire operation. So like 4 months, little over 4 months. So that's gonna happen,
Okay.
and they maybe don't have enough tanks or enough fuel for those tanks because he has to keep diverting the tanks from different fronts to different areas. Um, Now this is where one of those generals again. This is one of the major losers of World War II talking about how he could have made it pro, he could have been great, but man, that Hitler shot me in the knee, and I was never able to really become the World War champion. Um, but he was like, why don't we just take the Panzers, strip them of all their infantry, and just drive like 350 or 400 miles onto Moscow? We'll just overrun their defenses, and we'll get them. We'll get them, Ben.
Okay. I'm guessing this is where the
And
marshes
and
come
he
in.
and he was shot down, and he's like, I can't believe I got shot down. And I'm thinking like, no, I agree that was a stupid fucking idea. You're going to be deep in enemy territory without any way of resupply or reinforcements, and getting cut off is almost inevitable.
The
And
horses
that's
will
like,
pull the tanks, and the
horses will pull.
horses eat grass. And then if things get rough, we'll just eat the horses.
Checkmate.
Duh.
Easy. So, yeah, Hitler 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 keeps redrawing the plan too. He keeps getting convinced to do different things. First they're driving on Moscow, and then he's like, "Well, we gotta go up and deal with the North Front. Oh, now we need to go down to Kiev." And the generals are like, "Oh my god, I can't believe he's doing this. Why is anyway is just drive on Moscow?" And the reason why is because that wouldn't have won the war.
What?
A bold take. See, the reason Hitler remembers, or Hitler doesn't want to do Moscow, is he remembers that like 100 plus years earlier, Napoleon takes Moscow, and then he has the honor of freezing and starving slowly to death inside Moscow before he is forced to retreat across open terrain, where he is then harassed maliciously nonstop. He did not beat Russia by taking Moscow.
Yeah.
Now, Moscow was like the nerve center of the Soviet Union. All the railway and communications are concentrated there. So taking it would be a problem. But I think Timoshenko, one of the Russian commanders, was like, yeah, losing Moscow would be a, a big deal, but it doesn't alter our plan. And Hitler's plan was, we need oil. We got to get that delicious oil in the Caucasus.
Mm-hmm.
They get within, what, like 10 miles of Moscow, but they fail to reach the city, Ben. And the German generals are like, why don't we give it the old college try the following year? But at this point, they only have enough strength to really have a major offensive in one theater. So they could waste all their time driving on Moscow,
So this is
where they would probably get bogged down in urban warfare and have to fight street by street and not be assured of any victory. And in the end, even if they win, they don't have any new oil.
that's what
Or they could try to go for that oil.
that's what I was gonna ask. Like, so you mentioned like they could try the next year, but like, isn't the clock already ticking?
Yeah, the clock is ticking. And also the Russian winter came on. And also that's burning up our fuel. And also
So
we kind of
I
didn't
guess that goes back to
supply
my
enough
question
winter
of
clothes.
why did they do it in winter?
They didn't do it in winter. They were planning on winning before the winter
Oh,
came.
I see. So they invaded when it was the right time if they could have met their
Yeah,
somewhat ambitious
yeah.
schedule.
Yeah, their incredibly ambitious schedule, which I'm gonna have to go back and dub over. It is like 4 or 5 months.
Okay.
Not
Well,
the
then they were kind of
incredibly.
doomed to experience some amount of Russian winter anyway.
Well, also, there's another thing that people often overlook. It's the shitty Russian rainy season that comes before the winter, and all the roads are made of dirt. So, yeah, you're slowing down to a crawl, or you're losing your equipment in the thick mud.
Hmm.
There's also, and I didn't write it down, and I'm having trouble consulting my notes because I took so many bang. There's like this like 50-mile gap, I believe, between Vyazma and Smolensk. Someone's gonna look at a map and call me a dumb shit, and it's gonna be completely wrong. But it's like a 50-mile gap of like any real infrastructure. It sucks to try and get supplies through here, and in order to drive on Moscow, you have to get through that.
Okay.
So that's why the Germans were never being the USSR. Now, I did see something that said that they might have been able to deal enough economic damage that following year to knock the USSR out of the war. There is a there is something, I suppose, to that, but when your war goal is I'm going to exterminate all your people, you kind of just have to keep fighting until the last.
Was that the war goal?
He wanted to uh, relocate a bunch of Germans to the western part of Russia, take their strategic reserves. He wanted to wipe Leningrad and I believe Moscow off the face of the earth, including all the people in those cities. And he wanted to. I don't think he wanted to annex all of Russia. I think he wanted more like the Ukraine and I think like modern day Belarus and like the Baltic area. But yeah,
You
no,
ever think about dialing that back a notch?
no, absolutely
Oh,
not.
okay.
5 months, we got this.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that they were worried when they're like, all right, cool, we destroyed the Red Army. Oh, a report just came in, we destroyed the Red Army. And another report came in, we destroyed the Red Army. We've destroyed the Red Army like 4 times already now, and there's still more army out there
Oh yeah.
because German strategic planning did not take into account Russia's reserves. They just took into account what they had on the field to begin with. And that's where the myth of like the Germans were so great and the Russians just sent wave after wave of men after them. Again, that's a German general trying to explain like,
Well,
I mean, we could have won, but Russia just had like a bajillion men.
so let me ask you this, because one of the ones I remember hearing when I was in school is that the Russian army was just severely undersupplied, like didn't have enough guns for everybody. They lined them up.
Yeah, they had supply and strategic problems early on.
So,
And it took them a while to learn how to fight a modern war. But you know what Russia has? It's got time because it can just sacrifice men and land to get more time and learn how to fight an effective modern war, which it started doing by 1942.
so I remember hearing, and I don't remember, I think this was in school, that like the Russian army at some point was using, like they were lining up to form ranks or something, and like only like the first couple rows had guns, and the
Yeah,
goal was to, if the guy in front of you dies, pick up his gun and keep shooting. Was that a thing?
yeah. I believe that happened. And they also had like basically prisoners on the front line who were there to just
And they still do today.
you're you're gonna absorb these bullets. Good luck. We need you to dig trenches, and then if you die, you die.
Try to roll in the trench when you die.
Yeah, there you go. Lay these mines, and good luck.
Try to lay on top of the mine so when they roll you off, they blow up.
There you go. There you
Yeah, that's
go.
a war crime.
Strategic.
So, but that wasn't like the norm then. You're saying like sort of at a certain point, they get their shit together.
They do get their shit together at a certain
Because I
point.
will say
Yes.
that I think that is a gap in my at least high school education because
Yeah, one of the
they make the Soviet army sound like an impoverished joke.
No, they by the end of the war, they are probably the strongest army on Earth.
Okay. Yeah, because I will tell you right now, in high school for sure, not college. I think college was pretty good, but high school for sure, that's what we were taught was that the Soviet army was just garbage.
Hey, it's Ed or Nate. I think I kind of drifted away from the point. The point is, there were a lot of times where the Germans actually outnumbered the Soviet army on the field. Plus, there is a German myth that, like, the killed to death ratio, I guess is what I'll call it, even though it makes it sound like I'm a child playing Call of Duty. The kill to death ratio is much higher for the Germans, but that actually starts to reverse as the war goes on. The Russian army was some ass cheeks early on, but it gets a lot more formidable as the war continues. And, I think France, there's something to be said that France was very much the same. It's just France didn't have hundreds and hundreds of miles to put between them and the Germans, so they didn't have the time to learn how to fight a modern war. They also didn't have Joseph Stalin. Anyway, back to the next one. It definitely started out as some hot garbage, for sure. And like their tactics had to evolve over time. Like I saw a video, a Russian video actually, like one how you would tell a new recruit from a veteran sniper was that a veteran will change locations after he's shot and killed. He'll get the fuck out of there and change somewhere else. New recruit's going to sit there and get murdered.
So I guess the way
They
you could tell a
also
new recruit from a veteran is the veteran exists.
There you go.
Yeah.
They also have like they lined, like, let's say they had like 10 anti-tank guns. They would line them up and spread them out, and they learned it's just much better to concentrate them in one area or in strong points to form a more effective defense.
Okay. I'd say that's a pretty big myth that I was taught in high school that is being
Yeah,
dispelled.
one of the there's also a few other ones I wanted to address, like well, just don't invade the Soviet Union as a way that Germany could win the war, which, as I said, it's
They
really unclear if that was ever an
they needed
option,
to
number
source the oil
one.
from somewhere. Well, but presumably, like if they had just kept buying the oil, if they had never invaded, could they have maintained that alliance?
It doesn't sound like it. Like I said, it's real. I've seen a bunch of different sources on, like, saying conflicting things, so it's real confusing on how much those two liked each other. But Russia, the USSR was certainly all down to take advantage of Germany being preoccupied elsewhere.
Okay.
So if Germany had to start fighting America and Britain on their own, Soviet Union is, you still got to have troops there in case Stalin decides to do what Hitler did and invade. Maybe Stalin doesn't invade. Maybe he's just like, hey, you know what? I want some more chunks of Poland.
Well, and it's so yeah,
Give me chunks of Poland, and I won't kick your ass from
or
behind.
just I won't cut off the oil.
Yeah, there you go.
Like
And
wait until you're
that
really
was another
mired
fear
in.
of
Yeah.
of that was another fear of the Reich. We're reliant on these people who Hitler has been talking about is a giant Jewish conspiracy and he hates and he wants to destroy. Uh, yeah, no, the non-aggression pact was more of a, like, we're not going to fuck with each other,
Yet.
but like we're not friends. And that wasn't going to last, and obviously it didn't.
Okay.
There's also the myth of just knock Britain out of the war first.
I think they tried.
Yeah, it was like as if they didn't try; they failed.
Well, I think the okay. So the way I've heard that myth stated is Germany should have committed to a full land invasion of the British Isle.
They didn't have the resources to do that. They would have to defeat the British Royal Navy, which the Kriegsmarine was nowhere near up to par to defeat. And then
I think a lot
they
of
would
people
have to
point to things like
supply.
a lot of people point to things like Dunkirk, where they're using like fishing vessels and stuff.
Yeah, they point to Dunkirk as like, well, what if they would have just destroyed everyone? And it's like, well, that would have been a problem, but that didn't destroy the Royal Navy or the Royal Air Force. Both of the things that were keeping Britain in the war, because again, you have to cross an ocean. Losing their army wasn't nearly as bad as if they would have lost their Air Force or their Navy. And also, Dunkirk was still a total fucking disaster for the Allies because they lost any heavy equipment they transported across the channel.
Yeah.
They got their soldiers out, and that was about it. And whatever they could carry. But all their tanks, all their munitions, those were now Germans.
So why did the horses not swim the channel?
Yeah, I think it's because they weren't like pure-blooded Aryan horses, Ben. I think if Hitler could have just injected them with that Aryan goo-goo juice, Ben.
Have we ever thought about integrating hippopotamus into our amphibious operation?
That would be going to Africa, and I don't even want to know.
Well, Italy's got that on
thoughts
lock, right?
Africa. Yeah, Italy's there.
What if Italy used their Mediterranean dominance to swing around into the Middle East, start setting up refineries? How long would that take?
A real long time. And that's another thing. Even if Germany did manage to get to those oil wells,
can I tell you,
they would have been burned.
I'm realizing
they would be on fire and all the machinery would be destroyed. I think there was a guy in charge of those wells, and Stalin said, if the Germans get there and those wells aren't burned, you're getting shot.
I'm realizing I know jack shit about refining oil.
Yeah, me too.
I don't,
but I know that it requires machinery.
I don't
to get and then refine.
Even have any idea of what the process is. Like, I'm sitting here and I'm like,
you take it from the ground.
Certainly, they're not just
you put it into a refinery. It does sloop-a-loop-a-loop-a-loo, and then
like,
it spits out refined oil.
Do you boil it and scrape the good stuff off the top? How does it work?
It's like charcoal. You burn it until it becomes petrol.
There's so many things that like just somebody pointed out. Like I heard somebody talking about like how stupid, I don't know, like how stupid people were back in the day, and somebody the canned response to that is like, "Do you know how to make a fire?" And it's like, no, I don't know how to do anything.
Yeah, first I take my fire starter sticks and my box of matches that I brought with me out, and then I light those up, and then I add some kindling to it, and then some fuel.
Dude, you know how I start a fire? I pour like half a can of lighter fluid onto a bunch of wood, and then I throw a match in
I do know how to start a fire if I have a bunch of tools.
Yeah. But I don't know what lighter fluid is, actually. Even
it's oil, Ben. You take it out of the refinery and
but that's gotta be like super.
Scrape all the good stuff off the top.
But it doesn't look.
The lighter fluid's what's at the bottom.
Yeah, it doesn't look like oil. So what the fuck is the lighter fluid? Yeah, okay, it's kerosene. You're throwing names at me, but I don't know what kerosene is. Okay. You're getting like it goes all the way back up to like, yeah, I know it was eventually dinosaur bones. Yes, I'm aware.
It's petroleum distillate.
But what do they do to it to make it a different thing? How? Yeah, that's what.
Oh my god. It says it's primarily composed of hydrocarbons, often naphtha, and I'm like, what the fuck is that?
Dude, we are in so far over our heads.
Naphtha?
Why did we start this war?
Because we thought we could just get oil from the ground.
We don't know what the fuck we're doing, man.
No, the Soviets kicked the Germans' ass at Stalingrad, and then Hitler's like, "All right, new plan. Let's attack Kursk," and they basically run into a wall as hard as they possibly can. And that is the last time they are on the offensive. And in 1944, I think it was 44, maybe it's 43. I think 44, Operation Bagration comes in. And it's that meme with the two red buttons, like destroy Army Group North, destroy Army Group Center. And he pushes both buttons because they managed to fuck up both of them. Bagration destroys Army Group Center, but it cuts off. They also at the same time cut off Army Group North. It's a total fucking
Well, that was
bloodbath and a
probably
shit
just
show.
because Stalin let him drive all the tanks up front.
There you go.
And yeah, that's probably what happened there.
No, it's super cool, the planning for it. You might check it out because they made it look like that the troop concentration was going to strike into the Ukraine, but instead the tanks they drive by night without any lights on, and then by day they have to camouflage to disguise their movements. And Soviet uh, planes would fly overhead and drop like flags, basically, like this is football, like flags if they could see the tanks from the sky, and that meant that they had to refine their camouflage. Super cool. Totally caught the Germans by surprise and just fucked that entire army group.
Nice.
And the other myth is like, well, they could have won if Japan would have invaded from the east,
What?
but that was never going to happen. Japan wanted nothing to do with the Soviet Union. They had an unofficial border war called Kotkin Goal, where the Soviets beat the fuck out of them. And so the Japanese were like, yeah, maybe we do the southern plan instead of the northern strategy. We do the southern strategy, we take all these islands and fight the US. I would rather fight the United States Navy than deal with the Soviet Red Army.
Well, let me ask you another question then. What's the source of oil in Asia at this point? I've never really thought about that. Where was Japan getting its resources?
It's a good question. In 1940, Japan received 94% of oil from foreign soil or from foreign sources. Oh
Well, it
dear.
would have to.
Okay, Indonesia was one of them. British Malaya. So, I mean, that's the reason. Like, they didn't just attack Pearl Harbor; they attacked like everywhere in the Southeast Pacific, including the Philippines. I think they hit Indonesia. Like, they hit everything they could. The idea was to grab as many of the islands and as many resources as they can, and get the Americans and the British out of there, and then set up a big old defensive perimeter. We're gonna bleed the Americans till they tire of war and just let us keep this stuff.
Well, and I mean, like you have things like Iwo Jima where they're, how many people died to take like a. So,
Yeah, that was bad. That was a bad move. They actually didn't even need to take Iwo Jima.
well, let me ask you
Whoops.
another maybe myth, because this is another thing I've heard is Japan attacking Pearl Harbor was that it's a lucky accident that they did not get most of our navy because most of our navy happened to be away at the time, which is actually why a lot of people think there's a conspiracy there that we allowed Pearl Harbor to
So
happen.
I've seen this, and again, they they hit everywhere at once. It wasn't just Pearl Harbor. It would be really stupid to let the Japanese hit us in like 5 or 6 or like 20 different locations all at once just so we can enter this war that we're already a part of because we are shipping material
But
to the Soviets and the British.
do you think there's truth to the idea that the Japanese were hoping to get much more out of the attack?
It I think they wanted to get more out of the attack, but from some of the things I saw, they were primarily concerned with battleships. Because that was the super weapon on the sea
I have
in the First World
I have
War.
heard that the aircraft carriers' dominance surprised everyone, kind of.
Yeah, the aircraft carriers were a novelty at the time. It's the new untested thing, and holy shit, were they a lot more impressive than we thought. Now, it did take a while for us to iron out the kinks. We talk about Midway and how we sunk a whole bunch of aircraft carriers and basically crippled the Japanese Navy. We sure did lose a lot of pilots, though, because there were a lot of people using torpedo bombers, which were slow and shitty and easy to shoot.
Mm.
So we had some kinks to iron out.
Well, but hey, it would go on to inspire every sci-fi franchise for the rest of time.
Hooray.
Yep.
Yeah, the Americans had the advantage in being able to repair their craft too. I think the Yorktown was presumed dead like 3 times before and during Midway before it finally sank. So the Japanese got away thinking like, God, we got like all the carriers, and like they got one, Yorktown.
Hmm.
Whereas the damage control on the Japanese ships weren't as great. And also, when they were hit, they had a bunch of fueled up planes that were loaded up with ammo and ready to go, sitting on the deck. And so a bomb exploding would be a really bad thing right about now. Set off a massive chain reaction.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. To be fair, I'd make that mistake too. I'd think it would be a good idea to have the plane ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, they were ready. They were about ready to launch an attack. The problem is we kept sending wave after wave of planes, and a bunch of waves got lost, but then some of them found their way back. So they were prepared. They're like, all right, we just beat the Americans. We just shot a bunch of their planes out of the sky. All their shit missed. What's that up in the sky? Oh, fuck. It's more guys that were launched earlier that just now figured out where they were. And
That
yeah,
sounds like an
then
American victory. That sounds like
yeah, goddamn right.
Russia's doing all this.
USA, USA.
Russia's doing all this crazy planning, and we're just like, oh, hey, I finally found this place. I guess I'll bomb it.
Well, if you want to hear about crazy planning, the Japanese plan for Midway was like it was like a 7 or 9 step detailed plan of like, all right, you're going to go up north and attack the Aleutian Islands to draw away the Americans, and then we're going to do this diversionary attack here. Then we're going to send our planes to soften up Midway. We're going to attack the island. Then we're going to draw in the carriers. Then we're going to blow up their carriers, and they're going to do all of this without sending communications to one another because we don't want those to be intercepted. We need and we don't want to give away our position, so maintain radio silence, and let's just assume that everything's going to go according to plan.
So now I've also heard. I think this was. I think this was Dan Carlin's podcast. Is where I heard this Hardcore History, which is a really good podcast.
Yeah, much better than my retelling, but you're listening to it.
Yeah, Dan. No offense, Dan
Mm.
Carlin's podcast is fucking way better than ours, but by orders of magnitude. But
slacking off, Ben. You gotta start carrying more of this weight.
He, I think I heard on his for the first time that the Japanese. I don't know exactly how their military forces were divided. Like, I don't know if it's like Army, Navy, Air Force, or whatever. But the different
I only ever hear of the Army and the Navy.
But the different branches like had total autonomy, and rarely worked together.
Yeah, they did not like each other.
The
And
only person who could
the army wanted to
centralize.
do the northern strategy, and the navy wanted to do the southern strategy. And the army was kind of disgraced, what with getting their ass kicked by the Soviets and then failing to capture China. So we went with the southern strategy.
Yeah, I heard that I think Dan Carlin points out that the only person who could really issue like a central command was the emperor, and the emperor wasn't, like much of a military man.
But he was a living god, so they had that going for him. That's probably why they won the war in Philip K. Dick's world.
Well, to go
That and FDR died.
to go back to the thing is, how much of this was known at Philip K. Dick's time?
I don't know, but I'm pretty sure we can say that FDR wasn't the sole reason that World War II happened. The him getting assassinated in 1932 or whatever.
Well, I think that's I'm not saying he is, of course, but I think that's some of the logic behind the conspiracy theory that we allowed Pearl Harbor to happen, is that the United States was just so resistant to entering another one of quote unquote Europe's wars, that the only way we were ever going to do it is if we were attacked.
I mean, we were already giving materials to Britain, France, and later the Soviets.
Well, it's one thing, you could say we're giving materials to Ukraine, but
eventually
we're not.
that shit's going to be a problem for Germany or Japan. We also embargoed resources to Japan that Japan needed, so they're like, well, guess we got to bomb you now. Now, I will say that Japan would not sink, they would go out of their way not to sink U.S. ships on their way to the Soviet Union to deliver goods, because they did not want to piss Russia off. And in the final days of the war, they were hoping that the USSR would broker some sort of peace between Japan and the US that was not a
Unconditional
total
surrender.
unconditional surrender.
Well,
And then the Soviets started invading Manchuria, and they're like, "Oh, I guess
they've chosen.
I guess we're done."
I guess the
And then
USSR
two
and
nukes
America
hit
are
them.
just going to be the best of friends for the rest of time.
Yep.
No, I do know, like, one of the other things Dan Carlin pointed out is, when you think your emperor is a living god, you can't. It delays the surrender more and more because you're afraid they're going to tear down, basically the symbol of your nation. Like, what if one of the conditions is give us the emperor?
Yeah, and towards the end of the war, all they really wanted was to keep the imperial royal family around.
Yeah, you can have one. You can have one. No.
Unfortunately, more than one. Have you ever seen the picture of MacArthur and Hirohito?
Yeah.
That's fucking MacArthur, hands in his pockets, like a whole head taller than this man. Just that right there. That's just perfect propaganda.
Yeah.
That's just mean. That's what that is.
Yeah, there's a whole separate tense in Japanese for speaking to the emperor. Like, it's not just polite, it's emperor, only to be used when speaking to the emperor.
We were there the year that the new emperor was going to sit the throne during Golden Week.
Oh, what?
I think a South Korean news agency was there, and they were interviewing me and my wife because I think they're like, let's see if we can get some white idiots to be idiots on screen.
You guys got Man on the Streeted and
yeah, they're like, what do you think about the emperor? And we're like, well, I mean,
seems nice.
Yeah, great. I guess. Understand it's kind of like how there's a queen in England. I don't think there's a whole lot of power. Whatever. It's nice that we're here, though.
What emperor is it? Is it the Reiwa era,
I have no
or is
fucking
that the
clue.
last one?
All I know is they're on the chrysanthemum throne, which is just not it, Ben. It's just not
It's
it.
just
You
not it.
know?
Not your fit.
No,
Not one of your
no,
top five
no,
thrones.
no.
What's wrong with the chrysanthemum throne?
Yeah, whatever the word for chrysanthemum is in Russian, that should have been Stalin instead of Stalin, Man of Steel. Stalin.
I don't know. I think there's a certain
Let's
like
see,
refined elegance to it. You know.
Chrysanthema, Joseph Chrysanthema.
I,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's just not. I think the standards of masculinity is a weird thing culturally. I know I'm stumbling onto some big facts nobody else has ever thought of here, but like I don't know. I think there's something to be said for like that kind of like quiet, refined, uh, peaceful, like biding. Like you're very civilized. It's a very civilized throne. Um, whereas
Yeah, that's what I think of when I think of all those Japanese wars. It's just how civilized they were carried out.
I mean, they weren't, but
Yeah,
uh,
I know that one of the reasons Hello Kitty even exists is to give that image of like, oh, poor Japan, the victims of that war. It's like, yeah, but were you? Why don't we ask China and Vietnam, and Malaysia and Burma?
oh yeah, no, I've
Let's ask some people. Let's go ask some other countries how they felt about you.
so I dabble in Japanese, but before I dabbled in Japanese, I did martial arts for a long time.
Yeah, just like Juliana Frank.
Mm,
Got that
I
judo.
didn't do judo. I did taekwondo, wadokai karate.
That sounds like you made it up,
No,
but
I didn't.
it's pronounced karate.
It
I've seen
is it
SpongeBob.
is actually pronounced karate. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah. Put some respect on that name.
I uh, I would go to tournaments, and very occasionally, the different higher up people, a lot of fancy martial arts people have come to America because there's more money to be made in it here, and yeah, you could tell, like the Japanese are not super well liked,
Yeah.
especially with something like Taekwondo, where like Taekwondo was like a military training thing for Korea. Like those guys kind of they do kind of have like whether I guess they would have, yeah, they would have all had to be in the military because Korea has the mandatory military service. So yeah, they've got some of that culture still. Not big fans.
Yeah, I think I saw something like someone in Japan was like, "How many times do we have to apologize for the crimes of World War II? Once would be nice."
Yeah, there's no. We talked about a lot of this with the Poppy War. Um,
Yeah, but that was our second ever series, and the quality was
as
shit.
opposed to this episode, which is going great.
Yeah, this is a 10 out of 10, Ben. Maybe even 11.
But yeah, that's another weird thing. I guess maybe that's another weird myth, or I don't know if it's a myth, but like the Japanese war atrocities are right up there with the Holocaust. Like
Oh, yeah.
they did a lot that didn't get talked about as much, kind of got swept under the rug because they became such good allies
Yeah.
for our next immediate struggle, which was with the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I don't know. That was another thing that never really got covered in history class in high school.
I think mine at least talked about the Bataan Death March,
I got
but sure did not mention any of the shit that happened in China.
we
I think it was just like the Japanese invaded China, it didn't go so well, and now they're bombing the US, and it's like, ooh, there was a lot that maybe got left out there.
yeah, I think in high school we might have touched on Nanjing, but I don't think we got details. Certainly not the way we got the Holocaust. Like with the Holocaust, you got the videos and the images. Like they were,
We were reading books in English class to supplement our
yeah,
understanding for the history class. Yeah.
yeah. They like, and hey, good on it. I mean, it should
Yeah,
not be forgotten. But
absolutely.
yeah, there is that. And I, after we did the Poppy War, I did read um, the Rape of Nanking by, oh boy, I think it was Iris Chang or Iris Chong. Um, and it is fucking brutal. But like in history class in high school, they had us read Hiroshima. I forget the author of that, but it's a pretty famous book about where he went around and interviewed survivors of the atomic bombings, and that's fucking brutal too. Of course, none of it was good, but China got largely ignored.
Yeah, yeah, part of that is Japan was an ally, and also China soon became an enemy.
That's what I was going to say. Is like, is it just because they were
So
communist, like the Communist Party took over China that?
just sweep that under the rug. China did want, I believe, to hold some top officials in Japan accountable, and then the communists took over, and the U.S. stopped caring. Like, oh, well, yeah, I guess fuck you for wanting to not be a capitalist society, you fucks.
Well, and to tie it back to Man in the High
We're
Castle,
gonna not. We're never gonna talk to you again until Richard Nixon.
to tie it back to Man in the High Castle, though, I think there's something to be said for that, where it's like there is just this reality where something like some of the greatest crimes against humanity that have ever been committed just don't seem to exist for us. Like you do have that moment, and I think, um, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing her name. I'm gonna look this up real quick before I get it wrong because I will be an asshole. Yeah, sorry. It's The Rape of Nanking by Iris. The Rape of Nanking by Iris Chong. Um, that was she was a um, American of Chinese descent, and her parents had told her all of this stuff, and then she went and found it all out. And R.F. Kuang described having a very similar experience. And now Iris Chong does actually credit a lot of Japanese sources for preserving some of this material against the wishes of their government, who really wanted to sweep it all under the rug. But yeah, you have that kind of experience that the characters in the Man in the High Castle have of like, oh, there was this actual thing that happened that is not what we thought happened. Like our good ally actually was as bad as our worst enemy. And I know we wound up with, you know, West Germany and being allies with Germany again, but I don't know. I feel like Philip K. Dick's onto something there. He just never.
And we took a lot of their scientists, which
Yeah,
he didn't know at the time. But yeah,
yeah.
there were scientists who did some really horrific shit that did not get hung until dead.
No, and it's like it by not acknowledging it obviously it's important to acknowledge it. And I think that's what maybe some of what Philip K. Dick's trying to get at with the collective consciousness message is like, these things happened, but if you don't acknowledge that they happened, what does that mean? Do you just live in a reality where they didn't happen? Can you do that? Or is there something about reality that's always going to come through?
Do you think he made draining the Mediterranean intentionally really fucking stupid?
Well, so
For that exact reason, where you would say, no, it didn't happen. That didn't
no,
exist.
I think the reason, so John Bierce mentioned that there was an actual crazy German
Yeah.
plan to drain the
Oh, I
Mediterranean.
thought you were gonna say the land masses cut off the Mediterranean, dried up.
So John
Maybe that
Bierce,
was,
credit to him and
this guy.
his geology. I don't know if you can hear Shy dropping shit.
I heard. I didn't hear the drop, but I heard her response to the drop.
Yeah, but yeah, no, John Bierce and his crazy like geology stuff. He sent us this actual plan by an actual German guy to drain the Mediterranean. I'm still unclear as to what his reasoning was, and I still question, where does the water go? Now, here's how you could drain the Mediterranean.
Just dump it in Africa.
No, so it turns out that the Mediterranean Sea is not like a proper inland sea. I don't know how to describe it, but it's evaporative. So if it is disconnected from the Atlantic,
Yeah, I saw that
it
picture.
will evaporate over.
How long does it take to evaporate a sea of that size?
They had a thing. They actually did the calculations of how much water it would lose per year. It would take years. I think it could be done relatively quickly on like a human lifetime scale. But one of the points was there wasn't enough cement in the world to build the dam that you would
Just
need
make more.
to build across the Strait of Gibraltar. I think they said it would require the full cement output of the entire world for a period of like 5 years around.
Easy. There you go.
And
5 years? Crank that out in like 3 years.
It would cost many trillions of dollars. And again, I got to ask you, where does the water go? Like, you're going to have to build
it
that.
Evaporates, Ben.
And then rains down where?
Somewhere else.
Yeah. So you're going to drastically alter. Ultimately,
maybe if we just keep global warming, more and more of the water vapor will stay in the air. Checkmate.
I think it was. I think it was not done for the obvious reason that it is a stupid thing to do. But the fact that it could be done was something that this guy had pointed out. And I guess it was something that the Germans had actually looked at doing and discarded because it was stupid. And I think Philip K. Dick got a hold of that and was trying to say, what if every crazy plan a German scientist ever thought up, like what if they had all the resources of the world to do that? Because I'm assuming in this case, Germany controls all of Europe, half of America, presumably all of Russia.
I think so. Or they drove most of the Slavic peoples east.
So they've got all these resources. What could they do? I think that was Philip K. Dick's point. I don't know. It's kind of interesting to think now that like Philip K. Dick might not have had the full picture of all of the information we have, and we probably don't have the full picture either. And we're living in a reality very much shaped by American exceptionalism and all this stuff. And it's like, what if?
Yeah, because we're the best.
What if the perception was even slightly different? Like, what if The
I wouldn't want to live in that world. I'd be like that Japanese general, or that trade mission guy. If I can't get out of this reality, I will have to shoot myself
what
with the Civil War antique pistol. I'm gonna blow my fucking half my face off.
there are certainly Japanese medical experiments that are as grotesque, like imperial Japanese medical experiments that are as grotesque as anything Mengele did. But we know Mengele and we don't know the name of the Japanese scientist, most of us at any rate. And, we live in this world now where, like, hey, cool Japan, anime, manga, I speak a little Japanese. What, like, but in high school, we had to look at all the images of the Holocaust. We had to read the Diary of Anne Frank, and we would go home and watch Dragon Ball Z. There is something to be said about like your reality being shaped by that. Like you don't live in an objective world of facts and material. You live in a subjective world of whatever information is available to you, filtered through
Yeah,
your
we all live
preferences
in the
and biases.
Matrix.
There's something to it. I mean, like I'll admit, it's a little douche philosophy, but there's definitely something here.
Yeah, this was the book for you, not for me.
I'll tell you the truth. I've seen it done a million times. Ironically, because of the point I'm making, this sort of like what is reality thing was like the subject of like all my favorite '90s anime, and I can only say like I much prefer the aesthetic of like cyberpunk and giant robots to the aesthetic of alternate history. What if the Nazis won? It's just not. If this book was the first time I encountered this theory,
You would take some Xanax and go to sleep. What is the green thing behind you? Yeah. Okay. That shit did not look like a bag of Pringles from my perspective for the last like 20 minutes.
what did it look like?
It looked like you had some picture of like I'm thinking of the cliffs from Dragon Ball Z.
Oh,
with,
Namek.
like the green grass. Yeah. Yeah, and I was like, "What the fuck is that?" I'm just staring at it the whole time, trying to figure it out. It's a bag of Pringles.
Yeah. Well, and that just goes to show
There you
that
go.
you live in a reality based on your subjective perspective. What in actual reality was a bag of Pringles with an apple core in it that I should have thrown away was to you the majestic cliffs of Namek.
All right, I think that's a good place to. We made the point. We did it.
Brought it full circle. Brought it home.
And I'm sure if anyone, feel free to comment about all the things I got wrong. Maybe I'll do a bonus episode talking about those, but probably not.
If I know
probably won't even
anything
read
about
them.
nerds on the internet, they don't have opinions on World War II.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's right.
But we will never talk about this again. So
yeah, next week we're talking about the Hounds of Bastardville, and then we get to do your gift, Ben.
oh, that's what that is. I was gonna ask. That Mass Effect thing is my gift?
Yeah.
Okay, I forgot.
Yeah. Can't wait, Ben. I'm gonna read Mass Effect Revelations. Oh, it's gonna be so great.
Okay.
So great.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe I'll turn it into a two-parter where I talk about the history of Mass Effect.
If you do, I'm there with you. I've got codex entries. I'm ready to talk.
I don't want to talk. We don't have time. All right. Well, we'll end it then.
All right. Special shout out, as always, to our $10 yacht tier patrons, we've got Jamie, the Gravy Man. If you want the gravy, .wordpress.com, and you do want the gravy. Maybe if you annoy him enough, he'll watch the Amazon show. You've got John Bierce, a real author, and I mean that not just in the fact that Ben and I aren't real authors, but also like Philip K. Dick, low-key not a real author. Check out his work, The Rack, the May Jarrett series, and The City That Would Eat the World. Then you got Isekai Sensei Sama. From that time I got reincarnated in the same world as an anime podcaster podcast. Is the man in the high castle just a really bad isekai? Are all isekai just a collective consciousness that we all yada 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 yada? There you go, Spooky Shy. Shy with a Y on TikTok. Okay, bye.